Okay, I'm gonna respond since you
Yep.
you talked about my video. Lance, I watched your video and you actually liked.
Let me interrupt you there, Lauren. Rabbit, do you want to talk? No, no.
Counterpoints.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a public platform for a while apparently, so you might want to get this out of your system.
Make the most of it.
Okay.
The beginning of my video
Lauren,
because I didn't.
let me interrupt you, Lauren. Okay, Lauren's going to speak now, everybody. All right, Lauren's going to respond. So everyone just be prepared.
Not ignore the problems that happened in residential schools. I discussed them. You liked that aspect. Where you didn't like it was when I started talking about the church burnings. And these are not these problems cannot just exist. You can talk about both problems. Why not? And we need to, because we actually have an injustice happening today that we can talk about and deal with and stop. And then the other ones, I mean, you say there's injustice happening today and the government are working on that. There are a lot of policies they've put in place for healing, and maybe there are more we can discuss. But these church burnings are a problem happening right now, and I think it's really good that people are talking about them, especially when they bring in the conversation of the problems with residential schools as well. I cannot see what I have done wrong.
And plus two, when you're talking about church burnings and arson, right? Really arson in any form, that's a very physical, real act that as a justice system you can point to and say, no, that is absolutely unacceptable. We can draw a very clear line here and we can really start to hone in on it as an example.
Right. Definitely.
In discussing that, I also really want to point something out. When it comes to the church burnings, you seem really interested in ensuring we have and ensuring we have proper convictions. Yet when it comes to the Catholic Church, you were just saying we should be outing the names of people who have been accused, not convicted.
Ding, 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 ding.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yep.
I'm glad we've
Excellent.
gone back to this topic because I really was I was upset they didn't get to discuss it earlier because of the shitty moderation.
And
So
I just top form, Lauren. Keeping an eye on that. Being able to point it out as a direct contradiction, hypocrisy on the part of your opponent. Good job. Not a lot of people would catch that.
oh, this thumbnail is ridiculous, portraying Lauren Southern as this on fire, angry.
Yes.
Well, what else
and
are you
Lance
gonna do, right?
is the one face palming.
Oh, he's got
was my
the. Oh, you
thumbnail?
didn't wear a mask, so you're gonna die Pac-Man shirt. Oh, yeah.
No, it's Lance's thumbnail.
It's just-
Yeah, this is Lance's
Oh.
thumbnail.
and it's
I don't know
funny
why it's
because
showing up,
and it's funny because of the fact that like the face palming has been done majority by Lauren and counterpoints.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And they're even
So
like, look, even he's highlighted in red with his like with an angry face. Is like, ugh.
Yes. Yes.
What
Evil.
a scummy thumbnail.
Evil.
Why does your passion for justice and innocent until proven guilty exist for the church burnings but not for the Catholic Church?
Sure. So that's not what I said. What I said was that should they release the records of the individuals who were involved in these churches and whether or not those records
You
will
said
show.
accused.
Yeah, I said as in the records revolving around both the nuns and the priests who worked at those churches, those are records that the Catholic Church has not released. Whether or not those people turn out to be pedophiles is something that we can investigate, and whether or not those people will turn out to be criminals is another thing that we can talk about.
So let's wait. He said that's not what I said, then just repeated what she just said he said. Okay.
I mean,
It's definitely similar. Maybe in his mind they are totally different things.
He's like, you were on board with releasing the names of potentially accused sexual offenders. He said, that's not what I said. I said we should release the records of the names of potentially accused sexual offenders. And if we want to investigate it later, maybe we should do that. All right. Okay, Lance.
All right.
About the reason why I don't enjoy your particular brand of like pearl clutching when it comes to talking about these issues is that yes, you did a half decent job at acknowledging, which I was surprised to see, the residential school system and the treatment of Indigenous people. When you twist things around and then you take this as an opportunity to say, and now we need to talk about the real issue, which happens.
Community center, some like woke museum or something for ethnic studies was burned down. And you think Lawrence Hunter said, you're just pearl clutching, Lance. Okay, it's just a building that was burned down. What's up, pearl clutching?
Lauren's standing up for the pedophile priests. Oh, geez, that's a bad chat. This chat's retarded.
Not to mention, by the way, he just referred to as like you'll distract people with the real stuff, and I'm just like, if we're gonna use real violence or real horrible things happening, it's just like fucking up to date violence happening right now.
Right.
Buildings being burned down. It's like it's pretty fucking
That's pretty
real.
real. Yeah.
versus
looks
something
real
that
to me.
happened 100 years ago.
That they are
or 60
already
years
actively
ago.
taking steps to rectify in the government, like officially.
And already did. They literally gave people reparation money for this.
Like it feels bizarre to me. It's like, stop
my
trying to make the
God.
church burning sound so real. It's like, what?
They did give reparation money. That's why the court case even took place.
Yeah, exactly. They've already
crazy.
done some forms of
That's
restorative
crazy.
justice.
That's crazy.
Well,
To be these Catholic churches that are burning down, you are then trying to take away from the national conversation, which should be about the treatment of indigenous people.
Fuck you.
If I was to
Actually,
compare,
fuck you.
Yeah.
Is like, if you're drawing attention to these fucking buildings that are being burned today, you are taking away from this other conversation about ning, 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 ning. Shut the
How
fuck
dare
up.
you.
Jesus
How
Christ. What
dare
an
you.
actual piece of shit.
They did the exact same talking point during the BLM protest. They're like, oh, you're just talking about innocent shop owners
Yes.
losing all their livelihood to distract from the conversation that we're talking about systemic injustice and policing.
This
Maybe
was
don't
the
burn
argument.
shit down.
This was
Well,
the
how
argument
about-
Surfs made in person when he was here. The
Yes.
property
It's-
argument.
Yes.
It's funny to me. I'm just like, oh, I can worry about both of them, mate. I'll be all right.
Right.
I'm-
Right. And
I'm good.
Lauren literally says that. She's like, well,
Yeah.
my audience can hold two things in their mind at once.
Yeah,
Okay?
well,
Crazy.
I'm not so much of a simpleton that I could only care about a thing at one time.
Right. Right.
But, you do you.
And it's funny because, again, the projection here is off the charts because it's generally Lance and the other socialist people who are trying to dismiss the destruction of property, the rioting, the burning, the looting of stores. They're the ones that always try to downplay it in cause of some other issue.
compare the treatment of Catholics in Canada to the treatment of Indigenous Canadians, where do you think they would stack up? If I was to compare the treatment of the average white Catholic Canadian,
Not fucking relevant.
look,
Sorry.
I don't care.
I told you.
Look, he's saying they deserved it. He's
Yeah.
totally saying they deserved it.
No, he's saying they're more privileged, so therefore ignore them.
Yeah, we
basically.
can. It's okay if we don't really talk about their struggle because someone else's
Right.
struggle is way.
I
It's
think
not
that's-
even necessarily way worse because
It's-
if you work or go to that church, I imagine your church
Exactly.
being burned
Yeah.
down is way more of a hindrance on your life than maybe some potential oppression that might have occurred to you because of maybe who you are. But it's just
Well, yeah, and the difference in not acknowledging it. Like, if they don't acknowledge your church just got burned down, your life has been changed forever, versus people less acknowledging an age-old atrocity that happened. Apparently, apparently it's being overthrown by the church burnings, which I just don't believe. I'm like, nah. I think that stop talking so much about the church burnings. You're going to distract people from the thing that the government are actively trying to solve. Like, what?
Yeah, this is the
Gotta get
problem with
that-
this is the problem with the systemic racism argument as well, because even if you said, listen, this other thing happened forever ago, this huge racist error is over, and we should focus on the injustice that's taking place now, and that is obviously the church burning, he would say, no, the systemic racism is taking place right now. You don't know. It's everywhere. It's so much worse than the church burning that we can actually see and measure.
Right.
Yeah, because I get his big issue here is that you have a video saying, man, these horrible things happened once upon a time, and we're trying to do what we can to correct them. Unfortunately, the rhetoric surrounding it might be encouraging people to now take some revenge, and there's
Yes.
some horrible things happening. And he's sitting there like, why did you include that last bit? You just ruined the whole first bit.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like, what do you mean?
I
dude?
only
Like,
have enough brain RAM to care about one thing at any given time. I just
Right.
can't. No, I'm not upgrading. How dare you ask?
like,
I'm
I
perfect the
would just
way
be
I
like-
am.
just be like, Lance, don't you think it's important for us to get ahead of this and condemn it because it's actively happening?
Yeah.
No, you have to
Yeah, because
downplay
it's
it.
happening now. And plus, when a building burns down,
Mhm.
like you want to talk about ripple effects.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Oh man, talk about potential damage to neighboring structures.
Yep.
The money it will take to clear the building away, rebuild another one, where
Property
those people
values.
will go to the church in the meantime, the property, yeah, all this stuff. Like, damn,
Yeah.
burning a building down, especially as big as a church can be, that shit is dangerous.
All
Sure.
the
And
neighbors
talk
get
about-
affected.
Talk about breeding resentment and racism and hatred. Burning down churches is a surefire
Yeah.
way to get people really upset. Yes.
Mhm.
And not in the way that you want.
To the experience of the average Indigenous Canadian, where do you think we would end up? Who needs more help?
I don't know. You're going to have to quantify the amount of oppression that the average Indigenous Canadian gets. And then what a weird, how could you even possibly, you're just going to assert that. It's like saying how it is just this assertion that there's this blanket oppression that just happens because of your background and it will affect you in all of these ways. And therefore it doesn't hold these other people and their church burning down. Oh, boohoo, cry me a river. You're taking discussion away from this idea of oppression that I've assigned to an entire group of people, a massive swath of people.
Mm-hmm.
Help, and who needs more concern right now in terms of the way they're being systemically oppressed?
Don't even
between
need
those
to
two
be
classes.
concerned about it. Fuck
I wasn't
you.
comparing them. I was giving history and context as to why the outrage and conversation was happening in Canada, and then discussing how two wrongs don't make a right.
And that's the result of what you do. Because when you set those terms up, would you put them in that context? Would you make those kind of videos?
This thing, because what I've heard Lauren say is both of them are very bad. And I'm going to say that both are bad. And this is happening now. And maybe I'll focus on it more, especially because of the nature of what it is and its quote unquote realness, because the building's arson.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you can turn this into it's bad to do that fucking boggles the mind. It's derangement of the brain. It's insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you just ask questions, that's what ends up happening. And whether you're doing it consciously, I'm not sure. I don't know if you're doing it consciously or perhaps you're doing it unconsciously. I'm not sure, but that is the end result of your work. And when you make those kind of videos,
what is?
When you juxtapose two things like that, two opposing ideas, you set them up on the same terms, you make videos about them, and then suddenly it's going to be justifiable to think, well, the moral outrage should shift from this horrifying atrocity that has occurred and is still ongoing to Indigenous Canadians into we should.
Bruh, maybe it should if it gets to the point where more and more churches and then houses and estates start getting burned down.
Yeah,
no, you can't.
Sorry, but that's current society and civilization getting burned down because of. He said ongoing, by the way, for the
yes.
That's really interesting considering the comparison.
He's asked later in this conversation what he means by this. How is this still ongoing? And he answers this by talking about the 1960s. So we never really get an answer about how there's the ongoing genocide in Canada right now.
Should now talk about Catholic churches and the burning of them down. That is the problem with your particular brand of content.
I think, and I guess it's maybe just my audience, but my audience have the ability to juggle two ideas at the same time. I can explain past atrocities and then say, here's also a present atrocity happening, and they can say, wow, those are both bad things. Like, I don't know about your audience, but my audience can juggle two things at the same time without an issue.
And it's with design. Because by doing that, by pushing that narrative, they will be forced then to look at that and be like,
he's literally going to tell her that it's bad to care about two things at once. That's fucking nuts.
Well, he's saying, Lauren, you're intentionally trying to say that burning down a church is the same as kidnapping and genociding children for hundreds of years. It's like, I don't think that's what Lauren said. I don't think that's what anyone said.
I mean, they're both bad. Fuck off.
Lauren only looks good from this. Like, it's like Lance looks like he looks pathetic and unable to process thoughts. He looks like a simpleton.
Yes. Well, to us, but to his leftist audience, they eat this shit up.
Let me stop you right there, Sitch. We're gonna look at his comment section once we're done with this.
Well, okay, let's take a look. Oh my god, someone literally.
Not yet.
Fuck.
Spoilers, Rex.
It's not a spoiler. It's right on screen.
No.
Which TV is the thumbnail on?
His chat is saying they're not both atrocities.
Yeah.
I was more so saying the upvoted comments and posts, because this is the thing. His real-time audience, they're all brain dead, but the ones in comment sections will be a little bit better.
Well, the thing though is with the comments, you don't know how many of those are not surf fans. I'm sure a lot of people left comments that just saw this and are like, oh, fuck the surfs.
You can say that, but then you could also say that those comments shouldn't be rising to the top because his fans wouldn't upvote them.
I guess
they would upvote, like the brainwash stuff.
Well, the question is, I guess you'd say how many, did the people who went to leave angry comments outweigh his actual fans?
I suppose we'll never know the truth, but I mean,
So never know.
when you read them, they are built as comments of like concern as a fan sort of thing.
Well, that's good, I guess.
Oh,
It's
I
very
don't like
good.
those
I mean, it's-
comments.